Good day, good day, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Big shout out to you. Let's just briefly talk about the changing environment at Racing Bulls, Red Bull Racing, pretty much all the same, even to the T where they can shuffle drivers wherever they'd like to shuffle them and move them up and down from their junior to their varsity team. But there are some interesting things here that I find interesting that are happening at Red Bull, and that is going to be the mix up of drivers and where they will be sitting coming 2026 and 2027, even as big as Max Verstappen's move with in staying at Red Bull or exiting Red Bull after 2026, knowing that he's tried to put some quieting of the rumor between he and Toto Wolff and the Mercedes negotiations about him leaving Red Bull, going to Mercedes. That right now has been kind of silenced. Big shout out to Mary Beanie. Big shout out to Lord Chaos and Sylvia Wick Kelly in the live chat. What's going on? I see K5, Dewey, what's popping? So right now, that's kind of, and Miss Dino, I see you. Rambro 88, I see you. So that right now is kind of chill, right? When we're even though there's probably still going to be some things coming out about Max and the conversations and all the other stuff, it's kind of chill right now, knowing that he's going to be there 2026 with Red Bull. But what is to me a little bit more interesting is where do the rest of these drivers fit within the Red Bull team from the junior to the varsity team? There are a few prospects that could possibly come into the seats at the Racing Bulls, and I think that's as high as they go because that's how Red Bull processes their drivers. They bring them into the Racing Bulls team, which they utilize them as dummies, car blockers. They utilize them to get out in the pit maybe when they shouldn't be, go out on track, even though you know you don't have a car that's supposed to be out on track, bring out a yellow flag, a safety car, a VSC. This is what Red Bull does. I dare anybody to really try to debate it, given so much of the coincidences that have occurred to the point where it can't be a coincidence happening that often. And right now, we know Max Verstappen is a lock. Okay, Max Verstappen is actually a lock, and the other drivers are question marks. Even Yuki's a question mark right now, which technically I don't think he should be a question mark. I think that Yuki should be given some time to get in there. I think that we've seen a bit of progress, not only in Yuki's ability since Mankey's has come over to the team and Christian Horner has been exiled from Red Bull. I think that we've also seen a. I'm going to ask you all. I'm going to ask you all, where do you think Yuki should go? Because that's an important question. It's an important question almost to the point of us talking about Hajar. And I'm going to put an option up here that would be almost seemed as a demotion, but a promotion maybe in some sense, but maybe not. I'm going to put another team up here that is probably unlikely, but you never know because it kind of seems they don't make the best decisions with their drivers, especially when not getting a driver out of there. And then I can put this option up there. I'm not sure how legitimate these last two options are. So we're kind of just playing a game of let's speculate. Okay, let's just speculate. All right. So let's talk about some real legitimate options that could come up through the ranks from Red Bull within Red Bull, because we know Red Bull in this sense can operate like the Dallas Cowboys, which is they like to promote from within, right? They like to bring up talent from within. They like the homegrown drivers or athletes, football players. So when it comes to some of these drivers in no order starting, we can simply start by we could talk about Oliver, all right? And talking about Oliver may indeed be, I'm not sure if he's going to be their hottest prospect, but I can tell you that he's the most recent driver, I believe, within their system to have a championship in the F Series, knowing that he had a Euro, but that was back in 2022. Um, he had a bad accident in Spa. That was some time ago as well. But Oliver is there. All right. Denmark, Germany. He's there. He's in the Red Bull system right now. He's currently driving for MP Motorsports. He started racing 2012, 2011. And like I said, he had a driver championship in F Euro in 2022. Okay, that's cool. They got about three good three. I don't even want to say good. They got three prospects that they could possibly bring up. What's going on, Incredible Facts Quest? What's up, AD? But then if we get to the other driver that we can talk about, and that driver, of course, he's Pepe. I like the name. I like Pepe. I like Pepe. You can't say Pepe and feel bad. You say Pepe if it makes you feel like, hey, Pepe, put some pep in your step. But we got Pepe, all right? Pepe is also F2, 20 years old. Both these drivers, 20 years old, Oliver and Pepe. Uh, Spain, he's racing with Campos, racing right now. And I don't know if some of you remember, but Pepe was also involved with the situation at Hajar. Not that in this situation they ended up colliding or having an accident. But I don't know if some of you all remember where it was a very odd situation where both cars literally went into a lockup, into the same runoff, into the same wall, trying to figure out what all happened there with both cars breaking. I mean, it literally happened to both cars in the same turn, in the same wall, roughly around the same time. And that was definitely, that wasn't on the drivers, in my opinion. That was definitely on setup, especially when you got it happen to two drivers, same way, same thing, same wall, same turn. With the consistent thing there is the setup of the cars. But yeah, we got Pepe, and I will say that he has no championships, right? He's got none. I think out of any of these three drivers, I would consider him to have the least experience on paper. I would consider him to have the least experience on paper, coming through up different driving disciplines and races. So then that would get me to whom I would view as the most promising junior driver to get their opportunity, maybe in the Racing Bulls. It definitely will not be Red Bull. You won't be wearing that get up in the big boys team. You're going to be with the Racing Bulls. So I think it's going to be Arvid. All right. And I think that Arvid is going to be their opportunity to make something happen as far as a driver coming up from their junior series. And honestly think that for a few reasons. Okay, I think that for a few reasons about my boy. And one of those reasons is he's younger. He's the youngest out of all three. All right, he's the youngest out of all three. Indeed, he also Arvid also does have, I don't want to say he has the least amount of experience, but I will say he has the most recent accomplishments when it comes to the F Series, F3, F2, placing third in the Drivers' Championship. He literally races for Red Bull Oracle. So he's not racing for Campos. He's not racing for MP. He's not racing for another team, just donning the colors of Red Bull. He's racing with Red Bull in Red Bull in this series. And he's talked about somewhat highly amongst the higher ups. Helmet, wherever you want to take that for, you can take it. But he's talked about a bit more in in the rooms of, if we do need to grab a driver from the junior series, who's it going to be? But Red Bull have a bigger problem than just one driver. They literally are working on three seats that are completely right now unconfirmed. Okay. They're completely unconfirmed right now in three seats within their ecosystem. And that is the number two driver in the Red Bulls team for Max Verstappen, and then both driving seats in the Racing Bulls, where we have right now Liam Lawson and Hajar. And so when we get to talking about that amount of vacancies, all right, when we're talking about that amount of vacancies within a team, which really I already said this many times before, and we've talked about this many times before, I just think it is inappropriate for Red Bull Racing to be able to compete with four cars, four drivers, and two teams within the same sport on the same track in any given race day. I do not find it fair. I do not find that of integrity, and I do not find that of good composure of sportsmanlike conduct or competition within any discipline of racing and our sport within the world. If you have a team, you have a team. And if you are allowed to have two or three drivers for that one team, that is what you have. I don't think that Red Bull should be able to own Racing Bulls and Red Bulls and then be able to articulate certain things or construct or put together certain traps on track that other teams don't have the ability to do so. It's unfair. It's an unfair advantage by far. But either way it goes, we're talking about three seats. And the problem with Yuki's seat is this: there's a good and a bad. If Christian Horner was still there at Red Bull, I don't think Yuki's there next year. But being that the saving graces have found a way for karma to come back around and make a very special trip to the door of Christian Horner and let him know the morning of, you're fired. You're out of there. I now think with Mankey's in place that Yuki could possibly have the opportunity to go into 2026. He seems to have campaigned for Yuki to be treated fairly in updating or developing his car. He seems to bring about a more positive environment for Yuki to feel that he has a good opportunity in the team to be the best version of himself. If he's not, then it's completely on Yuki. It's not because he's not given the right tools, the information, or the construction around him. So now I'm kind of in between. Yuki could be there 2026 now. I didn't think that before with Christian Horner in place. But if Yuki's not there, then it's definitely Hajar who they're going to try to nudge up into that seat, right? It's going to be Hajar they're going to try to nudge up into that seat. And I think a lot of us are on board with Hajar. Turn that down, bro. I think a lot of us are on board that if Hajar is given up, and it's very conflicting to say this, and I know it. I know it's conflicting for me to say this because people just automatically adhere to the standard SOPs of what you should do if given an opportunity. Well, all opportunities aren't good opportunities, although it's an opportunity. We just have really seen Shador Sanders been given an opportunity, but technically it was probably an opportunity hoping that he would more likely fail than succeed. And he turned that opportunity around and he made the team and the team owner eat crow. You purposely downplayed my marketability. You purposely colluded probably with other owners to make me slide in the draft. You pushed me down into the fifth round. You took Gabriel in a higher round. Then when it came to the depth chart, I was last on the depth chart. I got the least amount of reps. I had the least amount of time with the first team offense, battling this first team defense with the second team or third team offense. And I did better with little. Then your other two quarterbacks go down. You put me in the game and I succeed. You keep me in the game longer than you would any quarterback that shows you promise, hoping that I would fail and he didn't. And that is kind of where I see Yuki right now. Okay. Prior to Mackey's coming in. But that is where I also see Hajar. This is why, up until now, is why I'm in between. Had Christian Horner been there, had the old dynasty or the old realm of Red Bull as we knew it been completely intact, I would have said Hajar completely do not take that seat. But now with things changing, with the damn metal of Red Bull, I don't know. It might not be such a bad idea for Hajar now to take that seat. Because potentially, I told you all, Red Bull is changing in a very vast way. And although I know we as a collective agree and have similar opinions of why we don't support Red Bull as an overall team, as a whole, we do like the components, singular components of Red Bull when it comes to the drivers. I think many of us like Hajar. I like Hajar. I like Yuki. I don't mind Liam Lawson, although I think he kind of got the silver in the moon and spoon type feeding, but I don't mind him. I'm going to do a video on him because I'm going to do a short probably about him because he aggravates me at press conferences and I think he needs to get some help. But it might not be a bad thing now because technically we could literally be looking at the Red Bull team being Hajar or Yuki number one and number two for Red Bull. We could be. It depends also on what other drivers become available. What is all going to come of the George Russell contract because we don't know where that's going to put him with Mercedes. We don't know what all Mercedes might be trying to work out for 2027. We could possibly see George Russell in Red Bull, Hajar in number two. Where does Yuki go? Does he want to go back to the Racing Bulls? Does he find another seat elsewhere? This situation puts Yuki in more conflict than I believe anybody else. Anybody else, because he's having his opportunity right now in the Red Bull seat. Okay. Had he not been there, then I'm like, Yuki's next up for sure when he should have been next up anyway, and he's up right now. But because he's there now, it puts him in the most murkiest situation of where will he be. There's two options for Hajar. He's staying where he is or he's moving up. I don't think he's moving out. There's a lot of options. There's a few more different options for Yuki. Either he's going to be given more opportunity at Red Bull. They're going to talk to him about shifting back like Lim Lawson did, or Yuki's not going to like it and he's going to try to find his way outside of Red Bull and find another team that might take him. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. To me, there's only a few teams that are on that board. And that's going to be Alpine. That's going to be the Racing Bulls and maybe Haas. Maybe Haas. It's not Ferrari, for sure. It's not Aston Martin at this point in time. It's not going to be McLaren at all. It's not going to be Williams, for sure. It's not going to be Cadillac, I don't believe. And it's definitely probably not going to be Audi. So to me, Yuki's options coming up are going to be with the Racing Bulls. He's still going to be staying in Red Bull, or possibly he can move to Alpine. At this point in time in Yuki's career, and this is what I'm hoping will change for Yuki. I'm hoping that on the back half of this season, that Yuki will have the full support. Now, what he does with that support is up to him. But I'm hoping that he now will get a healthy amount of support. And when I say support, people are going to be like, oh, you want him to be all kind to Yuki. You want him to do extra above and beyond for Yuki. No, I just want you to give Yuki what the other guy in the other car has. When the other car gets the updates and they're confirmed, I want Yuki to get the updates. When we got pit stops coming in and you're passionate and you're let's get this car done, I want Yuki to have the same energy. When it comes to strategy of trying to win and have the best race possible, the same thing the other guy gets, I want Yuki to be able to have that. I just want him to have even playing ground. Wherever he lay is where he lay because that's what he put down for a body of work. And up until now, I think we all can agree that that hasn't been the case. And now that it is, I'm going to be looking extremely critical at the back half of the season to see and compare Yuki's first half, Yuki's second half. What was the catalyst and change? What was the result? Did anything majorly change? Yuki was here first half. Now he's here second half. That's what I want. Just make it right. Just make it equal. Just make it impartial. That's it. So Red Bull is changing. Red Bull is changing. And more than anything, I would like to see the FIA and Formula One change the way Red Bull is participating in Formula One. That would be the biggest and most important change. Could you imagine if anything were to come down, and I doubt it's going to happen because Red Bull feeds so much money into Formula One that I doubt it's going to happen. Money is the rule of all evil, and we know Formula One to have their hands in that jar. But could you imagine how we could literally have three different teams? Because it's not quite as elaborate as bringing a complete new team the way Cadillac is if you're just buying into a team. We saw Alfa Romeo become Kick Sauber from one season to the next. That's not hard, okay? Everything's in place. You're buying the car, got the same power unit. Here's the team. Here's the headquarters. Change the name, change the board, change the documents, change investors' notes, all that little shit. It's not as difficult as when you're trying to bring a completely new team. That's why they were so adamant about Andretti coming in and how they were trying to come in. Like, can you just come in and just buy a team? Just come in and buy your way into a spot that's already existing and just change the colors in the livery and you're in. So yeah, I think that it would be cool if they finally came down and said, "Hey, you know what? I think it's time that we break this band apart completely. I think it's completely time. You got Red Bull or you got Racing Bulls. Decide who you want to be, where you're going to be. That other spot, you need to find a buyer. We need to find you a Porsche. You want to come in? Here's your opportunity. Already established. Somebody that has the financial backing that can sustain themselves through at least more than 5 losing seasons and still contribute the money and compete. That's the most important thing. Compete. Not running into financial problems where you can't bring updates, you can't bring parts. You got one part for one car, not for the other car. You got to race one car because you crashed one car. You don't got the parts developed for that. We don't need any of that shit. We don't need that. That's not productive. It needs to be a real buyer with good enough revenue and money and assets to sustain themselves through minimum 5 seasons. To me, I mean, there's probably a statistical number out there that financially makes sense, but that would be the idea. And I think that would be a very good idea. And I'm really looking to see if they're going to make that happen. So that's where I am. That's where I am on the Red Bull situation, the Red Bull seats. Yuki is in the most conflicting situation. Hajar's got to make a decision whether it's up or down. Liam Lawson might be out, and there are 3 possible drivers that could find their way in. Very interesting to me. Trust me, I know a lot of people don't care for Red Bull. F1 2025 just finished downloading. It told me right here, right now, it is 91% of the way through. I don't know why they said it was complete when it's at 91% of the way through, but it's almost done. If I can get that done, if I can get everything done, all the updates, check the friend request, we likely will have the grudge race this Saturday. All right. So all drivers be on notice. Get your laps in for Spa. That is the track. So you should already have been practicing this whole week because I had already let you all know that through the weekend. Wildcat and I having several conversations. If you want to participate in this race, you need to send me a friend request on the EA platform. Regardless if you're PC, PlayStation, or Xbox, send it via the EA platform at Wolfpack F1. I'll accept your friend request and then pay attention to the post on YouTube. And everybody in the Discord, you know where that'll be. And then the day time will be posted for the race. Make sure you're in the lobby. Make sure you're ready and on your console 15 to 20 minutes prior to the race time, okay? Because we probably will do one shot quality or we'll do whatever the case may be, but you need to be ready. Lower Chaos, hey, I just got it. I just got it myself because Wildcat told me everybody had it. So if Wildcat didn't tell me right, I need everybody to let me know. And I will say this: if we have more people with F124 still than F125, let me know that, and we could do the race on F124. I got 23, 24, and 25. I'm ready to go, whichever platform we're gonna do. So, Lord Chaos, we don't want to leave you out. And if more people say I don't have 25 yet and they can't get it, then we'll do the race on 24. All right. So Wildcat needs to keep that in mind because he told me everybody had it. So evidently he may have misspoke. But with that being said, that is what I got for the Racing Bulls. We will be live again. Big shout out to all the subscribers. Big shout out to everybody viewing. But biggest and warmest and coolest and most dopest shout out to my Wolfpack family members in the chat with the badges: Sylvia Wade Kelly, Laura Chaos, Mary Beanie. We also got Miss Dino in the house. And Paul usually checks in, but he's probably working really, really hard. Because Incredible Facts Quest, big shout out to you too, brother. And who else did we have in here? AD, big shout out to you. That is a new family member right there. Rambro88. And that is it. So I will see you all soon. Peace and love. Be safe.